Nick, what sort of season have you been having?
Oh, it's been a fantastic season, Rob. We've got more wine in the winery than we've ever had before, so really excited by that. And really beautiful ripe characters in the Pinot. The seeds are lignified, which means they're a nice sort of brown colour and have a beautiful nutty flavour and tannin. That's what gives us the elegant sort of Pinots that we're looking to develop here in Waipara. The whites have got beautiful acid and length. So we've got a very excited winemaker in the winery, which is always good. If the winemaker's got a sad face, we all start to worry a little bit, but he's sort of still skipping around the winery after doing nearly 12 weeks of constant work. So yeah, really excited about vintage 16 for us.
So there's quality and quantity.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Sometimes it's a little bit of a, I guess, sometimes when the yield is down, the quality's higher and vice versa. And that is a good rule of thumb sometimes, but in this season, particularly, it's just been such a fine autumn. We had 3 mils of rain over vintage, which obviously has other repercussions. A drought's not good for any plants or animals. But for that critical period over harvest, beautiful for us, and just we were able to get everything off just so clean and beautiful. It's really looking awesome.
Have you got another champion Pinot Noir coming up through?
Yeah, well, time will tell. These wines are now in a barrel, and they'll go through winter, just sort of sitting quietly in a barrel, go through Malo in the spring, and then be bottled just before and after the next vintage, depending on which brand it is and which wine we've made. And then it's quite a long time, another 6 months or so, until we really start looking at them. So yeah, a little way away, but we're quietly hopeful of some really great wines in a bottle.
Now, you said something interesting in that sentence about what happens in the spring.
Oh, yeah, malolactic. So at the moment, the wines are in the barrel. They've gone through primary fermentation in the yeast. We use all wild yeast. We don't introduce any commercial yeast into the wines. So they've converted all of the sugar to alcohol, and one of the byproducts, well, 2 of the byproducts is alcohol and carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide blows away, and obviously the alcohol's retained. But at the moment, the wines are quite sharp on the palate, because you've still got a large amount of what's called malic acid in the wine, and then as the wines warm up in the barrel, malic's converted to lactic acid, and the wines become much more sort of together as a whole flavour, and the palate gets a lot softer. So red wines always go right through Malo, and that, you can speed it up. Modern winemaking, you're able to warm them up and seed them and all this sort of thing, but we've run both Greystone and Muddy Water organically, and it's quite hands-off traditional winemaking. So traditionally, as spring comes and summer, the wines warm up, the bacteria that drives Malo will start by itself and bring that change in the wine naturally. So that's the way we do it. Yeah.
Yeah, there is a lot in it, isn't there, Nick?
Yeah, there is. There's a lot of it's patience and trusting in nature, in the wines themselves and the grapes. I think if you're able to deliver grapes to the winery in really great condition, the wines, they say great wine makes itself, that's not true, but if you are able to give it, the conditions and the time to just do its thing naturally, it's going to be, a beautifully integrated wine rather than sort of trying to push it and jam it into places it doesn't want to go. Yeah.
And now you're pruning?
Yes, just started pruning last week, and it's cold this morning. It's only about 6 degrees at the moment, so it sort of feels like it's pruning weather now. So we start pruning on high blocks that aren't affected by spring frost, because generally the blocks that you prune first burst earliest. So we wouldn't like to prune blocks and get them to burst early down on the flats where you're more likely to have a frost problem. Yeah, so the guys are out there pruning now. We just start off slowly. Often only doing half days to give people's hands a chance to acclimatise to that repetitive work. And then as the season progresses, they'll be doing probably around about 40 hours a week pruning. But, in inclement weather, we try not to work if it's pouring rain or snowing unless we're really behind. So that's a good day to go home and sit by the fire.
I guess the vines really do need to have a winter.
Yeah, they definitely need a winter. The cold period and the dormancy is an important part of a vine's physiology, and it also helps with pest and disease control a little bit as well. But once a vine's completely dormant and no leaves and the wood's fully lignified, which is when the canes are nice and brown, then vines can easily go down to minus 15 degrees, no problems at all. So they love a cold, wet winter. So fingers crossed, we're obviously in basically the second year of a drought at the moment. And although grapevines or grapes and viticulturists and winemakers, we love a dry autumn over that picking period, apart from that, they're like any other crop and they really need rain. So yeah, fingers crossed for a really wet winter. Wet, cold winter is what we're looking for, yeah.
Marketing-wise, you've got a big focus overseas.
Yes, yeah, overseas is a really important part of our business. We started off in New Zealand only and then grew into Australia and now across many countries in the world, and our sales and marketing managers currently in the second week of a trip in China. So yeah, it's been really interesting learning about the different countries' requirements and even their trading terms and their traditions, and you know how you deal with a Chinese wine buyer is completely different to how you would obviously deal with someone in Nantucket or something like that. So that's been a very interesting and challenging part of our business, but we feel we're now starting to get a really good handle on it, and being able to service those markets and understand what they want in terms of the wine styles, even down to labelling and whether they want 6 bottles in a box or 12 and how they want it packaged. They're all different, but we're also getting a lot of those wine buyers coming here to this winery right here over vintage, and able to show them how we make the wine and what we do. And I think that's really mind-blowing for some people that might live in a city of 20 million people in the middle of China or something like this, and they come here and we're racing around in the dust picking grapes and making wine and sending it to them in 2 years' time, and it just completes the picture for them, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, it would be. That'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's been... People often say at the end of it, oh, thanks for taking the time to show us around, but it's no problems at all. One, we enjoy it and it makes you think about your business in a different way, but also we know that when people come here and have a really personal experience and we spend time with them, you've basically got a brand ambassador into the future, and they go out and if they're faced with a purchasing decision in the future and they see Greystone Wines, that's the one they're going to choose, or Whiteper or New Zealand, you know, it has a broader sort of context as well. So although I work for Greystone Wines, you know, we're a part of Whiteper in North Canterbury and we're a part of New Zealand. So I think one of the strengths of the wine industry is not really, I don't think there's a lot to be said for competing head to head. We need to work together. We're such a small producer in the world. So, you know, New Zealand as a wine producer, our strength is really in presenting a good face to the market in the globe, yeah.
Nick, we've come a long way from people having a dream about drinking their own wine in the evening, and all the plans and budgets were done on the back of an envelope.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. That's the way these things often start. And then necessity means that you have to start getting a little bit more business driven, I guess, and working out where our costs are and how things work. And that's also been a learning curve for me as well, because I came here from Australia in 2004 to plant a vineyard and grow the vineyard. And that's sort of what I specialised in back then, but also has been really great to learn more about what drives the business forwards and what its costs are and cost of production and where the profits are to be made and where they're not as well. We've, you know, like all businesses, we've made some mistakes, but I think the important thing is to learn from those mistakes and identify where the strengths of your business are and really work on them. And one of those is the people. You know, what people have you got? What people do you need? Get them around you. You can't go anywhere without great people.
And I guess you're importing some. You've got people who are coming from overseas to help you with the vintage?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so every vintage we have what we refer to as interns, but they're paid seller staff. We usually have 3 to 4 from overseas. So this year we've had a guy who's actually a sommelier from Paris in France, which has been an interesting experience. He's so passionate about wine. And waves his arms around a lot while he's working. And then we've also had a guy from the US and one from Australia, and quite often we have some people from Germany as well. And they bring their own sort of experience to the place. A lot of them are doing 2 vintages a year to try to get their winemaking striped, if you like, more quickly. So they're fresh, they're energetic, got lots of ideas, and they sort of bring a little bit of fresh blood into the really busy environment. They're very passionate, and that's great. You know, it's one of the things that helps us make fantastic wine.